Episode 21 of the Consistency Podcast is here. My name is Steve from Gloucester, and this will be a very short episode as I will be reading from a prepared statement. It's dangerous to have jealous people around you. They look at you as competition while you look at them as family or friends. And with the network, jealousy will only lead to our downfall unless fundamental changes are made. There is no secret that Mike Magnanski was invited to be a guest on the Consistency Podcast. This was not his only network invite, as some of my colleagues also reached out. Mutt announced on his last Kirk Minahan Show appearance that he was going to be on the KMS Rundown, which aired on the network on January 26th. Mutt and a representative from the Rundown proactively spoke to me about this, and I could not have been more happy or supportive. I was also advised by Mutt that he would record a future episode of the Consistency Podcast, and that invite is always on the table. Now, is landing Mutt on the same page as landing Mike Francesa, Dave Portnoy, or Kirk Minahan? Of course not. But Mutt is what some people would consider Boston famous for his time on air at WEEI. So having him come onto the network and be part of one of our anchor shows is a positive. The episode with Ziggy, Red, and Sheldon was excellent. There was great rapport among the group, and there were many funny one-liners. As always, the Rundown guys put out great content and are a must-listen, along with all the shows on the network. The expectation is that our CEO Menners would have applauded this episode when he released his Tiny CEO podcast. To hear him poke fun of the episode and say Mutt was boring was off base. Is Mutt Don Rickles or Rodney Dangerfield? No. But this episode was far from a bore or a love fest. It was a great episode which got a high number of downloads. Now, would Menners have called Mutt a bore had he interviewed him? Probably not. But our CEO appeared dejected and jealous that Mutt chose the Rundown over his show. And he took a joke Mutt made about him personally, which is not a good look. There were zero ill intentions made by Mutt towards Menners, and I'm sure Mutt would say the same. And it was this podcast and the comments made by the CEO that led to the KMS Rundown guys going on strike. They were quickly joined by Daver and Danny and Bill Ricker in choosing not to record, and my decision to go on strike was made easy when Menners took shots at Coleman and I while supporting a tweet made by Cinema Lords. For the record, I do not know Cinema Lords. I've never spoken to him and am unsure why my name is continuously mentioned in order to elicit a reaction of support from people. I will not respond here, but Cinema Lords is welcomed on the Consistency Podcast to discuss. And I'm also shocked our CEO would support that tweet on his podcast. Now there is news that old KMS Rundown episodes were pulled, and I've been alerted that this will also be the case for the Consistency Podcast if the strike does not end. I have had discussions with Joe and Menners about this, but must maintain my loyalty to the Rundown guys, Mutt and Coleman, unless changes are considered. The role of the CEO is to have equal appreciation for all of the network shows. There cannot be favoritism, jealousy, or animosity towards anyone or any show. All of the past issues and differences need to be buried, and there must be even loyalty and support of all the shows by our CEO. Right now, there are programs that are more protected than some of the others, and this should not be the case. Our CEO is leading with jealousy more than admiration. This needs to end, and I welcome the heads of all the families to meet on this to see how this issue can be resolved. The network should be a place where all shows can be supported and promoted. All of our shows, KMS Rundown, Mike and the Minifans, KMS Reloaded, Mount Kirkmore, Robbie V, Quantum Kirk, and every other show are filled with people who take time out of their lives to provide content to the KMS listeners when the main show is not on. Many of our on-air personalities have appeared on the main show, which is also a wonderful promotion to the network. But to not feel like these appearances are supported by our CEO is concerning. You have to remember, Kirk does not have to have guests on the show or provide hours of content each week. He could do 45 to 50-minute shows 3 times a week to fulfill his contractual obligations, and he can do so with just the producers and Blind Mike in studio if he wants. There isn't any other show on Barstool that incorporates the fans as much as Kirk does. Do you think Part of My Take, Pick Central, Spinning Chicklets, or Foreplay would have fans on their shows? This is what makes Kirk the best producer in America. He gives his fans a voice. And Kirk's voice should be the only one that matters when it comes to criticism or praise. It is his network, and his opinions are what should matter. and he should be the only one who directs the CEO to ban shows or pull episodes, not the opposite. Now, should this be the good ship lollipop? Of course not. That would make us every Barstool show not named KMS. But taking shots at people, being jealous, or not showing full support of everyone on the network is going to lead to people not wanting to contribute. We are told the network wants new shows and people to join, but why would anyone do so knowing that they are going to be slammed or there will be favoritism? I enjoy being part of this network and have loyalty and respect to everyone, including our CEO mentors who gave me a chance to contribute. So it's time to bury the hatchets, drop the egos, and get back on the same page. And if our CEO is not willing to compromise and make changes, then he should consider stepping down. Let's hope this is not the case because he does a good job with the network. But it's time to work together and not separate us. With that said, the expectation and the hope is that the Consistency podcast will be on this network for a long time to come, and I hope to have episode 22 out within the next week. I just hope it's done under better working conditions, and I hope that the CEO will agree with a lot of what was said here, and I look forward to his response. But until then, the only thing that I can continue to preach is this: